Hello, everyone. This is Jim from Conversa. It's great to have you here today. I'm very excited to find out some more about the marketing trends that are coming up here in 2018. Certainly top of mind for me, knowing what we need to prepare for and how we can get ready to go on that. Thanks for joining with us today. We're going to have Phil Frost to walk us through this from Main Street ROI to give us some idea of what's going on, a little bit of um, information about how it's going to progress here is he will go through the presentation, and at the end, if you have some questions, please put them in the question box and we'll do our best to get through those questions. We've got an hour set aside, so we'll see how far we can get with the questions. But with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Phil so we can find out what's coming up in 2018. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Conversa, for organizing this presentation. Again, we're going to talk about the top 10 digital marketing trends for 2018. You should see my screen changing here with some housekeeping. I want to encourage questions throughout the presentation, so you can just type those in. You should have a questions box in the GoToWebinar dashboard widget thing on your screen. It should be in the upper right-hand corner of your screen if you didn't move it. And then I always recommend at the beginning of these presentations that you turn off distractions. You'll get the most out of this if you're not also trying to check your email, instant messenger, watch TV, or scroll through your Facebook feed. All right, here's what we're going to cover. Obviously, we're going to talk about the top 10 trends you need to know about. And not only that, I'll present each trend, and then I'll talk about what you need to do based on these trends. So you'll get some key action items. At the end, I have a special offer for all of the attendees today, and then we'll have live Q&A. Now, if this is your first presentation from me, probably wondering who am I, why should you listen to me? Again, my name is Phil Frost. I'm the founder of Main Street ROI, and our business provides digital marketing services like SEO, Google AdWords management, Facebook ads, Bing ads, as well as email marketing, and we also do some WordPress development. And to date, we've helped over 2,000 businesses with their digital marketing, and my thought leadership has been featured in Forbes, Inc., Amex, as well as Mashable. And this is my favorite slide here. I'm also the proud father of these cute kids. We've got Violet on the left. She just turned 5 January 2nd. So she is now a big girl. She tells me that every day. And we've got Emmett on the right, who is quite heavy. It's pretty hard to hold like that now. He's getting close to 3, like 2 3/4. And my beautiful wife, Erin, in the middle. And we live on the upper west side of Manhattan. All right, so let's dive into the top 10 trends. So the first trend here is a trend that's been going on for a while now, but I know, at least based on the business I speak to, a lot of people have been ignoring this. That's the fact that your customers are mobile. They're using their mobile devices. So more and more of your customers are now using mobile to research and shop online. I know my wife is pretty skillful at making purchases with just her mobile phone. I'm a little bit more old school. I like to use a desktop computer, but more and more people are getting comfortable just using their mobile to do their research and then complete forms, even complete orders on their mobile. And the reality is, based on that, this is happening. Obviously, it's different across industry. Some industries, more of your prospects are mobile than others. But with every industry, if your website's not mobile friendly, you are definitely missing out on leads and sales. So what do you need to do? It should be pretty obvious. You have to make your website mobile friendly, or what's called mobile responsive. And just to touch on what that means, as far as what is mobile responsive, that means your website will respond to the device that's accessing it. So if I go to your website on my computer, which is what I would likely do, I'll see the big version of your website, takes up the whole screen on my laptop. If my wife goes to your site on her mobile, which is what her preferred device, then she would get a scaled down version, but still with easy to read on a mobile. It's laid out a little bit differently, and then the buttons are much easier to click with your thumb versus a mouse. So the layout changes, the usability changes, even the navigation. If you have top navigation on your website for a computer, a lot of times on the mobile device, that will get changed to just kind of a button that then pops out the navigation. Then you also want to think about designing your marketing campaigns for the different devices. This is a mistake I see over and over again. We do a lot of audits of Google AdWords campaigns, and I'll see that the business is targeting all the devices, mobile, tablet, and desktop. And the reality is that the site is not set up properly for typically mobile. Typically, people focus on the desktop or computer version of their sales page. But if you check it out on a mobile device, you'll be a lot of times shocked to see how that actually looks on a mobile and how it functions, or more likely the lack of functionality on a mobile. So you really need to be careful, especially with advertising where you're spending a lot of money sending traffic to this page. You need to make sure that it's designed properly for each device. Taking that a step further, don't just worry about the landing page in your marketing campaigns. You have to think about the whole sales path. So if someone lands on your landing page, they read and they like what you have to offer, and then they click through to maybe the next page where they have to complete a form. You want to make sure that that form is easy to fill out for mobile, for tablet, and computers. Or maybe you have on computers, you want to drive form submissions, and on a mobile device, don't forget that that mobile device is a phone. The call to action could actually be different for your mobile traffic, and you might want to have a big button where it's a click to call, where they just literally click with their thumb, pulls up your phone number, and they can just place a call to your business. And that's basically what this next bullet is, different call to action. So again, if it's a mobile landing page, you might want to emphasize phone calls more than a form submission, because it's just likely easier to place that call than it is to try to fill out a form on your mobile. And then you have to worry about tracking campaigns across different devices. Because again, the reality is people are going to use different devices. And I know personally, I will go to a website. Let's say I'm waiting in line at a store. I'll check it out on my mobile device, and then I'll get home and I will go to that same site on my computer. So that's an example of the same prospect, same potential customer accessing your website across devices, and you have to worry about tracking the performance of your campaigns and being able to track them across those devices. All right, trend number 2. This is also a trend that's been going on for a couple years now. That's the fact that Google is also going mobile. So what's happening there? You've probably heard this. It's been in the news, at least if you follow SEO. It's pretty big news that Google's going to a mobile first index. So I got started back in 2006, and back then I had a flip phone that literally could not access the internet. So back then, all you had to worry about was computers. You did marketing to computers. Google would spider your computer version of your website, and that's just how everything worked. That's how Google was built. But what they're doing is actually switching that. Rather than going to the computer version of your website, they're going to start going to your mobile version to make decisions about how your website should rank in Google's search results. So that is a huge shift, and the reason they're doing that is just because more and more people are going to Google on their mobile devices. So from Google's perspective, mobile is actually the more important device. So they want to look at the mobile version of your site, make decisions, rather than going to the desktop version or computer version. And then with that in mind, you have to start thinking about whether or not your site is mobile friendly, and then how your site is going to be graded on the mobile friendly signals that Google's looking at. And those are usability. So your site has to be user friendly on a mobile device. Page layout. So I mentioned this earlier, with a responsive website, the layout will change between a computer and a mobile device. So when you go to the site on your mobile, the actual layout will change, and potentially even some of the content might be in different spots on the page. And that's just to make it more user friendly, easier to read, easier to use. And then a big factor is page load speed. This is especially important on mobile devices. Nobody has an attention span when they're using their mobile. I know I do this as well. If I click through to a site and it doesn't load, I haven't timed myself, but it's probably around 2 seconds. I give it about 2 seconds and then I just give up. Google knows that. Google knows that people get very frustrated with slow loading pages. And if you think about it from their perspective, they do not want to annoy their users, because if people are going to Google and they're clicking on the results and getting annoyed, then they might get annoyed at Google, and then Google loses those users. So Google wants to make sure the pages they're showing, the search results, are user-friendly, have good usability, have good page layout, people can find what they need, and that they have really fast load speeds. So what do you need to do? Just go use this tool. Go to search.google.com/test/mobile-friendly. That will do a test from Google's perspective, and Google will tell you, hey, your website is mobile friendly or it's not, and it will also tell you where you can improve to make it more mobile friendly. I also encourage everyone to tell their developers about AMP. That stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. Again, this is pretty big news if you're following digital marketing at all. And this is not new, I realize that, but this is building up momentum, and it definitely doesn't look like it's losing steam in 2018. So I would encourage businesses to do some homework into accelerated mobile pages. Definitely consider it. It's something that Google is pushing hard for, and you can go to ampproject.org to learn more about that. But basically, AMP is just a scaled down version of HTML that makes the page load very quickly. And that's, again, that Google wants that. Mobile users want that. So it's basically a win-win. All right, trend number 3, ads are going to be more personal. And that's just because targeting is getting better and better. Again, when I got started in 2006 with Google AdWords display ads, all you could do back then was put in some keywords, and then Google would take those keywords and go try to find web pages that were about the keywords that you typed in there. Fast forward to 2018, you can now target. You can still target based on keyword contextual targeting, but it has greatly improved. But you can also target based on behavior and based on interests, and that's where it gets very interesting, because as you surf around on the internet, depending on what you do, the websites you go to, you start, Google can actually figure out the different behavioral tendencies that you have. For example, if you go to, let's say, ESPN.com, and you always are checking on the football scores, and you're always checking out, maybe you're in a fantasy football league, and you're always reading about football. Well, naturally, Google can figure out, if you're always going there, that you are a football fan. That allows advertisers to then choose different categories of people that are interested in certain topics or behaviorally have expressed intent towards different topics. And that's very powerful, especially if you were trying to target, let's say, football fans, if you had a football product. If you go to a lot of car-related websites, you would be categorized as a car enthusiast, for example. I'm sure you can extrapolate that concept to lots of different industries. And what that boils down to is that there's a lot of ways now to laser target your advertising and pinpoint exactly who you want to advertise to.
Phil, before we move forward, we do have a question about the mobile-friendly test. The question is, do they only test one page?
The tool, I believe the tool does just test the page that you put in there. I would have to double check though. If you want to get more insights into the usability of your site, I would recommend setting up what's called Search Console. That's formerly known as Google Webmaster Tools. So if you just go to Google, type in Webmaster Tools, it should pull up the Search Console link. You have to create an account, get that all set up, and then within Search Console, there's a section for an analysis of your mobile usability. And that will actually tell you, Google will go and spider your site, and it will tell you every page they see that has issues with mobile usability. Okay, so just coming back to laser targeting ads, you can target behaviorally, like I mentioned, but you can also target based on pages people have visited on your site. You can take your email list. Let's say if you have a database of customers, you can import that into Google AdWords, and Facebook has this as well. And you can target your customers who are on these different ad networks. And then you can take this a step further. Let's say you do have a big list of customers. You can import that, and then you could target them for repeat purchases, cross-sells. Then you could create what's called a lookalike audience. And if you're advertising in Facebook or AdWords, you can take a audience that you know is converting very well, create a lookalike audience, and that means that Google or Facebook will try to find other people in their ad network that match the characteristics of that audience that you already have. That's a great way to expand your reach. And obviously, better targeting is going to lead to higher response rates, stronger conversions, and higher return on investment. So what do you need to do? I would recommend everyone, whether you're advertising or not, get familiar with retargeting pixels. You can get started with AdWords and or Facebook. Add those pixels to your site. Start building that audience of people who have visited your site or different pages on your site. That's totally free to set that all up. You don't even have to advertise. You could do that in Facebook, and then Facebook will actually give you some good insights into your audience pool. And then I would recommend start testing what I call your hot prospects. And those are going to be the folks who have visited your site, who have almost purchased. So if you have an e-commerce business, let's say they made it to they added products to a shopping cart, they made it to the checkout page, but did not actually place that order. Those are going to be your most likely to buy prospects, the lowest hanging fruit, definitely worth investing in advertising to bring those guys back and actually complete those orders. If you don't have an e-commerce business, then those would be the prospects who, let's say, they made it to your service sales page, and then made it maybe to the request a quote page, but didn't actually fill out that form for whatever reason. They got busy and left. You could bring them back because you know they were pretty interested in that particular service. They made it all the way to the request a quote page, but didn't request a quote yet, so you could bring them back to complete that. All right, trend number 4, ads will be more social. And what's going on here, this has been going on for a while. Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram all have what's called native advertising options. All that means, if you're scrolling through Facebook, I'm sure you've seen this, you see ads that they look like organic posts. So it looks just like your friend or someone else that's in your network made a post. They made a little comment about it. There's a picture or a video, and then a link to go check it out. So it's a native ad option, and the nice thing about that is that the targeting, which I mentioned earlier, is pretty powerful. So there's so many different layers to the targeting, and if you are smart about the way you approach your targeting options, then you can get these ads in front of your ideal prospects who have expressed interest in your product or service based on behavioral targeting options, and that will increase your response rates.
There's a question seeking some clarification. The person asks, how do you target hot prospects if they haven't filled out a form?
Okay, so that goes back to retargeting. So I didn't explain that. I apologize. So with retargeting, you are targeting people who have made it to a particular page on your site. So my recommendation on that previous slide was to add what's called a retargeting pixel. So let's just stick with Facebook since we were talking about it here. Let's say you go create an account on Facebook ads. They will give you what's called the Facebook pixel. You will install that on your site, or your developer will put that on your site. What that means is if I now go to your site, I get cookied, or my browser gets cookied, and then I am now in your audience pool, and you can then show ads to me because I've been to your site. And you can do that across your entire site, or you could limit it to just people who have made it to a particular page, like the checkout page, or I mentioned they made it to a services page, and then they made it to the request a quote, but didn't actually complete that form. So you're targeting people who have been to specific pages on your site, and it doesn't matter if they completed a form. And you can actually target people who have completed a form if you have a thank you page. So if you want to target the people who have requested quotes, for example, you might have an ad campaign that kind of assists the sales process. So that could be a good idea, especially for longer sales cycle businesses. So once they complete that quote request form and they make it to the thank you page, that could actually put them into a pool where you have an ad campaign that shows them more, sales assisting type ads, and you might be advertising case studies and anything that might assist that sales process.
Phil, I think you've touched a nerve on this part of the topic. Here's another question. I was told, in regards to targeting, I was told it only works or is relevant when you have important traffic coming to your site. Is that true? And if so, what is considered important traffic?
So yeah, that depends on what you define as important, but you want to think about which pages on your site would imply that that person is more interested in your product or service, more qualified. For example, if you just retarget your homepage, that's kind of the broadest pool or broadest audience. There's going to be lots of different people going to your homepage. But then if you only retarget the people who go dig a little bit deeper into your site and start reading about a particular product or service, that's a much stronger candidate. In this case, more important. So as far as driving sales for your business, so then you could create a retargeting campaign for just the people who have made it to a specific product or service page, but didn't actually complete an order or request a quote. All right, so jumping back to social advertising, as far as the targeting options, I think I've mentioned all these already: demographics, geographic location targeting, interests based on where people have been, where they go online, determines kind of what they're interested in. Retargeting means they've been to your site or a specific page. When I say CRM imports, CRM is a customer relationship management program like Salesforce. We use Infusionsoft. That's just a sales tool. And what I mean by that is if you have a sales funnel and you have prospects going from, let's say, quote request to proposal to closed deal, you can then take all of the folks who are in that proposal stage, import those contacts into an ad network like Facebook, and now create a custom audience of candidates that have received a proposal but that haven't actually closed. Or you could really take any section of your CRM and do that kind of an import. And I mentioned lookalikes. That just means taking, let's say, all of your customers, importing that into Facebook, and then telling Facebook, I want to create a lookalike audience of all of these customers. And Facebook will go find all the users that have similar characteristics as your customer list. So as far as what to do here, it just comes down to where your ideal customers are. Are they actually using these different social media sites? It's certainly more relevant depending on the industry you're in. But the reality is that nearly everyone uses Facebook. The data out there is pretty remarkable as far as the reach on Facebook. And I get this question all the time. You think that with something like Facebook, it's not going to work for B2B, but it does work for B2B. And when you think about it, it makes sense. With B2B, you're still trying to get in front of people. And again, you just need to dig into the targeting options, but there are job title options in Facebook, so you can get in front of a particular audience that are in certain industries and have certain job titles. And in that case, it would work for a B2B business. And then again, I would start testing by targeting your hot prospects. That just is a reminder. The lowest hanging fruit would be to create that retargeting campaign that I mentioned before. All right, trend number 5 is more video ads. So just some stats here that YouTube has over 1 billion users that watch hundreds of millions of hours per day. Pretty ridiculous. Facebook touts 8 billion video views per day. And the reality is with video, you can go the low cost route and actually get a pretty decent looking video done, especially animated videos with just a voiceover. And if you are willing to do the voiceover, if you just record yourself on your computer with with a mic and just something like Audacity is a program that I use. If you do that audio and you just have to hire someone to then take that audio and make a animation, I've actually done that for as little as $350 at a site like freelancer.com. And I realized that is the super low budget way to do it. If you have a bigger budget, you can get a nicer video. But I throw that out there just because the biggest complaint and pushback I hear for video is, the cost of producing a video, the fear of getting on camera, all of those excuses. But the reality is, you can get it done. You don't even have to go on camera, especially if it's animated or it's just pictures, or get someone else on your team to get in front of the camera. And then if you do go some like an animated route, there are tools out there that make it very easy for freelancers to create these good-looking videos that I've seen work to drive leads and sales. As far as what kind of video you'd want to create, ideally you want to lead with the video by presenting the problem that you solve. Then you obviously want to explain how you solve that problem, and then give a clear call to action. So it's not going to be a very long, in-depth video. Ideally, you're really looking at 30 to 90 or 120 seconds here, so something 2 minutes or less. So very short and sweet video. Present the problem, explain how your product or service solves that problem, give a clear call to action to go to your site and learn more. And again, you can use retargeting with video.
I have a question, Phil. Actually, two questions came up as you're talking about video here. Do you see video advertising growing as a tool to drive new users to your website, or as another retargeting technique?
Basically both. And you'd have different videos depending on if you're going after what I call cold traffic, which is people who are not familiar with your business, or if you're targeting the warm traffic with retargeting ads. For example, we talked about the hot prospects who have requested a quote, for example. They're in your sales cycle. You could have just a video that creates a little bit more of a personal touch, introduces your company. Maybe it's got the founder on camera explaining why businesses choose them over the competition, and obviously that could assist in the sales process. But then you wouldn't use that for cold traffic. You'd have a different video for cold traffic that's going to follow more this outline that I gave earlier, where you'll present the problem, explain the solution, and then call to action to go learn more. All right, trend number 6 is a pretty big one. This is voice search. So more people the growth here is huge. It's projected to grow even further. I think I didn't add this stat. I just read it yesterday. I think it was ComScore predicts 50% of searches will be voice searches in the year 2020. That's pretty insane growth. And what that means, if you're not familiar with voice search, people talk to their phones now. You might have heard people say, "Okay, Google, tell me XYZ," or "What is XYZ?" That is a voice search, and then Google then does an actual search behind the scenes and then presents the answers to the person who just asked that question. So that happens on mobile phones, and it also happens on devices like Alexa. That's something that I have in my house. In my kitchen, I can say, "Alexa, play top hits, and then it'll play music. I can also ask Alexa for recipes, in which case it would actually do a search online and present the answers to me. What's happening because of the voice search, obviously people use more words when they're talking. So as far as how this is affecting SEO, it's leading to longer tail phrases, so longer keywords in SEO. And the other important point here is that answers can come from structured data. And if you're familiar with schema, that's a way to present structured data on your website. And structured data, the way to think about that is it's basically HTML code or another type of code on your site where you explicitly tell Google different data about your business. For example, about your business, you could explicitly tell them your business name. You tell them your business address, business phone number. That's really important for local SEO. You can also tell them information about product reviews, testimonials. All of that can be in structured data, and then Google grabs that information, puts it into their search results. And then when it comes to voice search, a voice search will pull structured data as well and present that to the person who asked that question.
Question about the schemas. Are there any good plugins for schema for WordPress?
I would have to ask our developer what she is using. So we've recently moved to, I think it's called JSON or JSON, which is just a different way to present the structured data. And I'm actually not familiar if we use a plugin for that or if she's adding that to the site manually. I believe it is a plugin. I'm just not sure which one it is. So I'll make a note here to ask, and then I could follow up about that. So just to follow up on that, so there's Schema. If you go to schema.org, you can learn more about it. And then there's JSON, JSON, which is another type of code. I believe that's JavaScript code that you put on your site. At the end of the day, it comes down to what your developer is comfortable with, and just make sure it is compatible with Google so that they can read it correctly. But it's basically just spoon feeding Google different data. So I mentioned a lot of this is coming from mobile phones, so people are just speaking to their mobile phones. So obviously that presents the need for a mobile-friendly website. That's really important. We mentioned using schema markup or JSON, some kind of structured data on your site. Make it easier for Google to grab important pieces of information so that you could get in those search results. Another good idea, if you don't have this already, this is just a good tactic for SEO in general, but it relates to voice search. You want to create a lot of different FAQ pages. So do a brainstorm with your team about all the frequently asked questions around your product or service, even around your industry, around your business. Get a nice big list, and then you can do some keyword research to see which of those get the most search, and prioritize which articles you want to create first, or just create them all. But basically, you want to publish these frequently asked questions as pages on your site. There'll be separate pages with the question and obviously the answer. And that's going to be good information that Google can then index. And then if someone asks that question via voice search, you have a highly relevant page on your site that would likely be in the top of the search results. All right, trend number 7 is that the first page of Google is extremely crowded. And here's a screenshot I took. And you'll see the yellow. What I tried to do there is highlight what was above the fold on my screen. So everything that's in yellow is what I could see on my screen when I first searched this physical therapist was the keyword. So I just did a quick search, physical therapist. I'm in New York City, so you can see a lot of the local results. But it's pretty interesting what's going on here. This search results page is totally different from what it looked like last year or just a couple of years ago. So you can see just 2 advertisers at the top. I'm trying to remember if it was last year or the year before Google made the switch. So there are no ads on the right-hand column. So that was a fairly recent update. But in this case, we're just seeing 2 ads at the top. Then we're seeing the map, and this is what's called local SEO, getting your business to rank in those map results. And then on the right here, we have the rich snippets or rich features that Google is adding to the first page. So just additional information. In this example, it's coming from Wikipedia, but Google pulls that from any website you could get showing in those rich cards or rich snippets section there. And the point of this is that the organic SEO results are actually not above the fold. So if you are ranking number 1 organically for physical therapist, you would actually not be you'd not be on the page until people scroll down below those local results. So that's pretty interesting how much things have changed over the years, and that really highlights the need to diversify. So if you've been relying on SEO, unfortunately, because of the way Google is changing their homepage, their search results page, you might have lost traffic for different keywords just because they might show ads now on top of you. They might be showing the big map. They might be showing rich snippets. Whatever it is, that would then be taking traffic away from what you used to be getting from your first page ranking. So I highly recommend diversifying in 2018, using SEO, not just traditional SEO, also doing local SEO, mentioning schema, JSON, structured data, and then using PPC. Those would be all the ways to get onto that first page above the fold. It also highlights the need to monitor the page results. So if you know what your top keywords are, where you're getting a lot of your traffic from SEO, you want to just have a process in place, at least on a monthly basis or at the very least quarterly basis, be checking those pages, or somebody on your team should check and just see how the landscape has changed and if there's anything you need to do to stay competitive there, as far as maybe adding different structured data to get different elements in your listings to increase your click-through rates.
Question about defining a little more clearly what rich snippets are.
So traditional SEO is, Google's ranking a website, and with these rich snippets or rich cards, Google is grabbing information typically from structured data like schema markup or JSON. Google takes that information and will show it in the search results in different formats. And in this example, you can see they pulled some images at the top. It says physical therapy. This is a page on Wikipedia in this example. So this is basically Wikipedia is getting prime real estate here in the search results, and it's not really a normal web page ranking like a regular organic listing. Google is grabbing this information from the structured data that's on Wikipedia and creating their own, basically a card that's on the first page now. And they also threw in people also search for, and then, obviously when people see this, it's taking focus away from other elements on the page, and people are then clicking to Wikipedia to learn more, or to, it could be a different website there to go learn more, or they might be seeing people also search for, click in one of those, and basically doing another search and pulling up different results. All right. Trend number 8, I like to throw this in basically every year, that email is still not dead. It's a big misconception. There's been, I think every year someone says it's the year that email is going to die. So don't listen to rumors. Email is not dead. It's by far the best tool to build strong one-on-one relationships, because you get somebody on your email list. You can stay in touch with them via an email newsletter, via automated email follow-up sequences, really nurture those prospects. There's actually surveys out there that prove customers prefer email versus all other media. That one's from ExactTarget. And then this data here was from a couple of years ago, November 2016, from Costora. Email drove more sales than any other channel in November. I actually should have updated that. Pretty sure that same thing happened in 2017, but I have to double check. So what do you need to do? First, just brainstorm topics. Brainstorm topics that you think your ideal customers would want to read about. So what could you use as content to stay top of mind? Some ideas here: FAQs. SAQs are should ask questions. So what should people be asking about your products, your services, your industry? How-tos, mistakes to avoid. Then you have to set up an email service provider. There's some examples there. You probably heard of some of these, if not all: Aweber, Constant Contact, MailChimp, Infusionsoft, iContact is another one. Then it just comes down to commitment. You have to commit to a schedule. I know personally how hard this is. When we got started, it was just me writing the articles every day. We started with once a week, and then we've actually moved to 2 articles every week. But I do now have some help, so that's good. And really the key here to make this work is you want to realize the relationship between promotional emails where you're selling or trying to drive leads versus nurturing emails where you're trying to build relationship, provide value. And you don't want to send more promotional emails than helpful, valuable emails. You want to do the reverse. You want to send more helpful emails, so provide value, educate your audience, and then from there, build their trust, to build that relationship where they know, like, and trust you, like receiving your emails. And then when you do send the promotion to them, that'll increase that open rate and conversion rate. All right, trend number 9, we've touched on SEO, but this is important to really hammer the point here. So SEO used to be just about keywords on your pages and links from other websites. Really, that's what it boiled down to, especially when I was getting started in 2006. It was pretty straightforward. Just make sure you had the keyword on your pages and then find ways to just get links from other websites pointing to your website. And that really did the trick. But now the trend here going into 2018 is much more about the user experience. And if you remember earlier when I was talking about mobile, usability was a big factor. Page speed is a big factor. Page layout. None of that is related to keywords and links, but it's critical now to your ranking. And it's only going to be more and more important. So it really comes down to providing the best content presented in the best layout for every device. So what do you need to do? First comes down to having a strong foundation. You want to have an easy to use, responsive website. You want to have different pages for each of what I call your core keywords. Those are your product or service pages. Those are the pages that have the buying intent. And then once you get that set up, have some kind of either a blog and or resource center. That relates back to having those FAQ pages. If you create a bunch of FAQ pages, you obviously need to put them somewhere, and I would recommend having a resource center on your website where someone could go and just learn more. It's basically just an educational section of your site. So if someone was on your site, wanted to learn, they would go there. But more importantly, those are the pages that you can then rank for more of those research type keywords. Then you want to promote that content, promote it on other relevant websites, and you can also do press releases, reach out to the press, try to get that promoted, as well as social media. And the last trend before we get to Q&A is going to be tracking. Touched on this earlier, the issues with cross-device tracking. An example here would be someone searching on mobile, then they research some more on a tablet. Maybe they're sitting on the couch using their tablet, and then they go to the office and actually place the order on a desktop computer. So that presents a big problem with tracking when people are jumping from different devices. And then competition online, as you know, is just getting stronger and stronger every day. And the reality here to actually be successful long term is to have the best data as far as tracking, knowing exactly what's working for your business, and being able to calculate that return on investment so that you allocate your budget to the best targeting options in your different ad campaigns and in your best marketing campaigns. So what do you need to do here? Set up and learn how to use Google Analytics. That would be critical if you don't already have that. I would recommend setting up some kind of call tracking to monitor your phone calls. That's absolutely critical. If phone calls drive leads and sales for your business, you have to know where those calls are coming from, which marketing channels are driving those phone calls so that you can allocate your budget accordingly. And then just be aware of the limitations across devices. There really is no perfect solution out there. Google is getting much better at tracking across devices. I forget what they call it, like the accuracy or error percentage is very low, but there is still room for error as far as tracking across devices. So just be aware of that. All right, and we do have a special offer that I promised. I'll go through this quickly. It's 3 step-by-step video training courses. The complete SEO tune-up, how to create a profitable Google AdWords campaign, and an introduction to Google Analytics and reporting. If you go to our site, mainstreetroi.com/training, you will see those 3 courses are sold for $97. It's a total value of $291. Attendees today can get everything for just $97. So it's basically buy one, get two more free. And you can claim that by going to mainstreetroi.com/marketing bundle. And that URL is on this screen as well. So with that, we've got time for some Q&A. Are there any questions, Jim?
Yes, there are. Sorry, I had my mic turned off and I'm talking and nothing's happening. One question that we haven't answered yet is, what is the best way to create an audience for your blog?
So the best way to create an audience for your blog would be to actually build up an email list. So you can basically, let's say you're blogging right now. On your site, you want to add what's called a lead magnet, or lots of different lead magnets. And that's just going to be free offers in exchange for email addresses. So whenever someone comes to your site, you'll offer them, let's say, on our site, we have a free SEO checklist, we have free AdWords checklist, free analytics checklist. Those are lead magnets to build up our email newsletter. And then every week, I mentioned, we send out a newsletter with our blog article. And that is basically our blog audience, our email list. And that would be my recommendation.
Okay, next question. Going back to the idea that email is not dead, how do you see newer email tools like email retargeting fitting into the digital marketing landscape in 2018? And do you expect consumers to prefer email retargeting ads to the typical display retargeting ads on the web and Facebook?
So when I hear email retargeting, I think of taking your email list and actually importing that as a custom audience and being able to target the folks that are on your email list using an ad network. Not sure if that's what this person is referring to, but I highly recommend that. That relates back to the CRM imports that I mentioned. So basically, if you have an email list or you're using a CRM and you have contacts with email addresses in different stages of your sales funnel, you can import those into an ad network and then show specific ads related to where they are in that sales funnel.
Next question is, it's two different questions, but essentially, how do I get a retargeting pixel?
You would just need to sign up for a particular ad network. For example, if you sign up for Google AdWords, then within AdWords, in the new interface, they just recently overhauled it. You have to go into, you have to click on, I think it's the wrench icon, and then that will drop down a lot of different options. And one of those is your audience manager, I believe it's called, audience manager. Go in there, and if it's a new account, it will walk you through the steps to get your retargeting pixel. Google calls it remarketing, but it's the same exact thing. And you just copy that, add it to your site, or email that to your developer.
Any thoughts about blogging and Google Hangouts?
I highly recommend blogging. I highly recommend just combining blogging with an email newsletter. It's a great way to nurture your audience, stay top of mind. We talked about that earlier. And then Google Hangouts, I mean, that's just basically Skype. It's a Skype competitor that can be good for international sales calls, or if you wanted to, I know people do webinars with Google Hangouts, and that would basically just be a different tool than GoToWebinar. But I don't have any experience using Google Hangouts for webinars. And I don't actually use it for calls either.
Okay. Do you recommend any one-stop shop companies that provide email, social media, and AdWord marketing?
Well, my unbiased answer would obviously be Main Street ROI.
Okay. For a person starting out with SEO, what's a good place to start for gathering information, getting a grasp of where they need to be doing things?
So if you wanted information, do it yourself. We actually publish a lot of good information, and you can get our ultimate SEO checklist. That's a good place to start. Moz publishes a lot of great information. That's another company I would recommend. Another company, Ahrefs. They have a great tool, and if you sign up for their newsletter, they publish a lot of really solid info on SEO. If you wanted a more in-depth training, then I would recommend the bundle that we have offered here. That's a great course to go through getting your website set up correctly for SEO. Then if you wanted services done for you, we provide SEO tune-ups as one-time projects, and then we provide ongoing SEO as well. But if you were just looking for, getting the foundation set up correctly, then an SEO tune-up would be appropriate. And that would be just getting your website totally set up correctly for SEO. And then as part of that, we would also recommend what you do on an ongoing basis to improve your rankings.
Well, I think we have the questions all wrapped up at this point. Wow, Phil, this has been fantastic. A lot of wonderful information. I know there have been several folks who have had to leave early or for one reason or another have mentioned, hey, great presentation, a lot of great information. Appreciate it very much. So it's been enjoyed by many.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me. Always happy to jump on and do another one of these.
Okay. Alrighty, thanks everyone. And like I've said to a few, this recording will be made available. I should have that posted and email out by tomorrow. Take care. Have a great day.